I want to welcome you to another Real Talk session with Theater Smiles. Wow, it's been a lot of developments since the last time we had a chance to get together and discuss what's really going on. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for allowing me into your homes. I really do appreciate your time. With all the things trying to keep you distracted and steal your attention, for you to check me out, it's highly appreciated. All right, so let's jump right in. First thing we're going to discuss is the amazing Million MAGA March. Now, this is one of the most impressive things I have seen since the Million Man March. And I have to say that I am highly impressed with my fellow Trump supporters. I really wish that I could have been there. With all the things that I'm dealing with in projects, I was definitely prevented from attending. But I was definitely there in spirit. I just want you guys to know that much. I was definitely there in spirit. So, the MAGA Million March was definitely, showing our great President Trump the respect that he deserved. Now, I just want to be clear. Biden is not the president, all right? Biden is not the president, despite what the news media has come out and said. They are not the GSA. They cannot, the media, they cannot call who the president is or isn't. And furthermore, if you're going off of the mainstream media, you're going to believe that Biden is winning with some amazing amount of votes right now over Trump. Now, we know this is definitely not the case. This is definitely not the case. Real talk session, baby. This is definitely not the case. We know that Dominion voting systems, they are definitely foul. They have software built into their website, their voting machines. And it's really sad, man, that all of this stuff was discussed and the fallibility of it was all discussed. I think about 8 months ago, P as in Paul, B as in boy, S as in Sam, public broadcasting station, PBS, they actually came out with a small segment where they were actually discussing, the chance of their systems being hacked altogether. And no one took it serious. None of the media picked it up. PBS was definitely one of the first ones who actually came out with that information. So in this Real Talk session, we're going to go over the latest executive order and what it could possibly mean, as well as a directive that I found to be very interesting. So, by the way, Trump did win North Carolina, for anybody who doesn't already know that. And the Democrats are definitely hiding a whole lot of corruption. Now, with all of the stuff that we're dealing with right now, after all of this Dominion voting system stuff comes out, all the years of rigged elections is going to come out. And the Democrats are the ones, I'm not talking about the regular Democrats like your neighbors and stuff. Anytime I say the Democrats, guys, I just want to make it clear, I'm not talking about the average Democrat on the street, hard-working individual that's trying to feed their family. I'm not talking about them at all. I got plenty of love for them people. They can't help that they have been misled. They some God-fearing people, and they believe in the media, but too bad the media have already sold them out. And basically has been corrupted by foreign governments. And that's part of the reason why we get into this executive order and what it means. There's really two medias. just want you guys to know that it's really two medias. You have mainstream media, MSM, and then you have the alternative right media, which I would like to call it. And most people probably would agree with me that's a fair assessment. OAN, that's a great source. NTD, that's another source that I like to look at. Those particular sources do definitely specify, in my opinion, what's actually reflected in reality. They're a better mirror of what's actually going on in our reality. Now, I thought, just speaking of reality, this is kind of a side subject, but I thought it was really interesting that lately that Elon Musk came out and specified that he had 4 tests of the radical new bug. I don't want to say the name because you guys already know what it's called, but the one that starts with a C and ends with a number. I don't want the algorithms to block me, so I'm not going to actually say the name, but the C starting with, that crazy word and ending with a number. Well, he took 4 of those tests, and 2 of those tests came back negative, 2 of those tests came back positive. All in the same day, all with the same nurse, completely closed environment. So I looked into it even further, and basically those tests are at best 35% accurate. So they're going to use a product that's not actually accurate as a means to lock you down, take away your rights, separate you and your family. And another thing, I've been trying to find some information that I could show you guys, but some credible sources specified that all of the C stuff ended with a number. All those votes, all those tallies, all those clerical accumulations was done by Dominion voting system. And let's look at the word Dominion. That means control over, like control over the people's votes, control over the people's minds. And it's come out that there's a company involved called Sindel. They're a bankrupt company, easily hackable from my understanding, and they're based in Barcelona, Spain. They're the ones actually counting the votes, like the software that's actually inside of the machine. And regrettably, this DNA of this software is like in a lot of different machines. And the crazy thing is that PBS had even specified that, there was issues even in a small number. And then all of a sudden that story just went away. And all of a sudden they just started using it for all these major elections in all these different states. And I think that's really, really crazy. Now, of course, in Arizona, Sharpies were handed to Republicans. We went over that in a previous episode, election fraud. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But now I looked at, to be fair, I looked at Dominion voting systems. I don't know why I keep messing up their name. But anyways, I looked over their website, and they specified that their machines can read Sharpies. I was trying to be a non-biased person. I don't want to just be accepting, the right side of the story. I don't want to hear the left side. I want to hear the right side. And I want to make my own assessment. And I just think that, they had stuff in place already. Now, today, Trump did call an emergency meeting. And I think that has a lot to do with the executive order. And keep in mind, the man also changed out the Secretary of Defense just recently. Like, all this stuff is just happening, and it's like dominoes being set up. And if you know how to zoom out wide enough, then you can actually almost see what's about to happen. Now, it says Canada and Venezuela used election fraud to get Trudeau in office, which I can definitely believe that the little research that I was doing. Now let me see here. Oh, and I also discovered that it was said that the research facility that was in the Hunan province of China, the other country or whatever, They said that that same research facility was also coincidentally the same facility that was harvesting adrenochrome. Thought that was interesting. I'll just throw that out there. Also in the news, let's see here. Dominion supply all the statistics for the, you know, crazy C word ending with a number. Yeah, I went over that with y'all. Like I said, let's see here. What else we got in the news here? Oh yeah, it looks like a trap being set for Big Pharma. Seems like our president knows they have been, well, basically not testing properly. I mean, think about it. Why would he push the vaccine if he didn't take a vaccine in the first place to get cured? Okay. He didn't take a vaccine in the first place to get cured, yet he gonna push vaccines. Now he got to act like he part of the system in order to bring it down. Let's see here. Optech software used on machines are owned by Soros and Mitt Romney. Wow. Now, let's see here what we got here. Pennsylvania judge rules in Trump's favor after Pennsylvania, I guess, looked into things a little bit further. Now, y'all remember that Mike Pompeo, I want to mention him as well. He did definitely show that he support Trump to the fullest. He got up there and said, yeah, it's definitely going to be a smooth transition to the next Trump administration. That's how I like that. I ain't gonna lie, I like that, Mike Pompeo. That's right, tell them what's really going on. Now, Michigan, let's go over to Michigan for a second. There was a witness in Michigan that specified that there was thousands of pieces of evidence of voter fraud. Let's see. Detroit is definitely a cesspool of corruption. Now let's see here. Once you send in a mail ballot and remove the envelope is separated from the vote. Dems and GOP were supposed to be able to verify the removal. Oh yeah, they definitely was not there. They definitely was not there or able to verify the removal. So when you got a whole bunch of messed up, crazy votes going into the system, and you ain't got the right people verifying it, and you separating the envelopes, I mean, it's just really hard to say. And then when you put it in the actual machine, and then you got hackable software, and then you got updates that's going into the thing. And oh yeah, Dominion also specified all the things that we got them to the wall on. They done came out on their website just recently talking about, you know, we ain't got this going, we ain't got that going, none of this. And then they want to use AP as their source. Like, really? AP? Really? Ain't nobody taking AP serious, man. Anyways, let's get back to it. Let's see here. So it looks like it's foreign interference. It came from China, Venezuela, and Mexico in our election. So they definitely been messing around. All right, huge. Linwood and Howie Carr, Joe Biden, and the people like him have been trying to steal the election. And they will be going to jail. And that's coming. And that's definitely coming. Let's see here. What's else in the news? Oh, yeah. By the way, guys, for the ones who are going against Trump, man, and y'all trying to stand in the way, man, y'all might as well come clean and take a smaller punishment. Because if you don't come clean and you constantly trying to go against the system and you constantly jumping both feet first in the traps, then, you know, you're going to be on the wrong side of history and you're going to be judged accordingly, okay? Right now, man, we are almost facing like a second revolution. Second American Revolution. All right, let's see here. Get back to the news. Let's see. GOP members. Now, there's a lot of those Ronald Republicans. You can always say everybody, man, trying to say that Biden has won, and ain't no way that Biden has won nothing, man. Everybody want to try to hush it up and brush it under the rug. I mean, y'all got to know there's something wrong with that right there. Now, anytime the Democrats had Russia going on and all of that, oh no, they got to spend millions of dollars to look into that. But as soon as Trump talking about some election fraud, and it's multiple cases verified in multiple states that it is election fraud, then guess what? They just want to get rid of it. We need to go ahead and move on and try to bring the country in unity. No, ain't no finna unite under no Biden, man. And ain't no unity created like that anyway. If you want to create unity with the people, then the people got to come together, they got to talk, they got to verify, they have to agree. That's how you get unity. It's not unity just because you say it's unity. Biden, it's your plagiarizing, but anyways, let's take a look at some of this information that we got here online. All right, guys. At this point, I would love to ask you to like, subscribe, and comment. It really does help me get discovered by like-minded people like us that is searching for the truth. I have to remind you guys, I don't make any money from these videos. So if you like them and subscribe and put them on your social media page, it helps me out tremendously. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this next section here. We're going to be talking about the executive order on addressing the threat from securities investments that finance communist Chinese military companies. This executive order was issued on November 12, 2020. I'm going to read through this here. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, the National Emergency Act 50 U.S.C. 1601 ETSEQ, and Section 301 of Title III United States Code. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, find that the People's Republic of China, PRC, is increasingly exploiting United States capital to resource and to enable the development and modernization of its military, intelligence, and other security apparatuses, which continues to allow the People's Republic of China, or PRC, to directly threaten the United States homeland and United States forces overseas, including by developing and deploying weapons of mass destruction, advanced conventional weapons, and malicious cyber-enabled actions against the United States and its people. Key to the development of the PRC's military, intelligence, and other security apparatuses is the country's large, ostensibly private economy. Through the national strategy of military-civil fusion, the PRC increases the size of the country's military industrial complex by compelling civilian Chinese companies to support its military and intelligence activities. Those companies, through remaining ostensibly private and civilian, directly support the People's Republic of China, or PRC's, military, intelligence, and security apparatuses, and aid in their development and modernization. At the same time, those companies raise capital by selling securities to United States investors that trade on public exchanges, both here and abroad, lobbying United States index providers and funds to include these securities in market offerings,
and engaging in other acts to ensure access to United States capital. In that way, the PRC exploits United States investors to finance the development and modernization of its military. I therefore further find that the PRC's military industrial complex, by directly supporting the efforts of the PRC's military, intelligence, and other security apparatuses, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat, which its source in substantial part outside of the United States, to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. To protect the United States homeland and the American people, I hereby declare a national emergency with respect to this threat. Wow. So when a national emergency is called, and then Trump enacts what is considered to be already on the books by Bush, which I'm going to talk about later, Directive 51. At that point, he would have all the power he need to freeze all of these people assets. I mean, heads are going to roll. Let's get back to it. Accordingly, I hereby order Section 1. The following actions are prohibited. 1. Beginning 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 11, 2021, any transactions in publicly traded securities or any securities that are derivative of or are designed to provide investment exposure to such securities of a Communist Chinese military company as defined in Section 4A1 of this order by any United States person, and beginning 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on that date, that is 60 days after a person is determined to be a Communist Chinese military company pursuant to Section 4A2 or 3 of this order, any transaction in publicly traded securities or any securities that are derivative of or are designed to provide investment exposure to such securities of that person by any United States person. Notwithstanding subsection A1 of this section, purchases of value or sales made on or before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on November 11, 2021, solely to divest in whole or in part from securities that any United States person held as of 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 11, 2021 in a Communist Chinese military company as defined in Section 4A1 of this order are permitted. Notwithstanding subsection A2 of this section, for a person determined to be a Communist Chinese military company pursuant to Section 4A2 or 3 of this order, purchases for value or sales made on or before 365 days from the date of such determination, solely to divest in whole or in part from securities that any United States person held in such person as of the date 60 days from the date of such determination are permitted. The prohibitions in this section A of this section applies except to the extent provided by statutes or in regulations, orders, directives, or license that may be issued pursuant to this order, and notwithstanding any contract entered into or any license or permit granted before the date of this order. Section 2A. Any transaction by the United States person or within the United States that evades or avoids, has the purpose of evading or avoiding, causes a violation of, or attempts to violate the prohibition set forth in this order is prohibited. B. Any conspiracy formed to violate any of the prohibitions set forth in this order is prohibited. Section 3. The Secretary of the Treasury, after consultation with the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense. Now keep in mind, we got a brand new Secretary of Defense. We're going to go over that in just a minute. Old Mr. Christopher. The Director of the National Intelligence and the heads of other executive departments and agencies, henceforth known as agencies, as deemed appropriate by the Secretary of the Treasury, is hereby authorized to take such actions, including promulgation. Now, promulgation is essentially creating new rules and laws right on the spot that are intended to be put into effect, including the promulgation of rules and regulations. So basically rewriting the books as they go. Okay, rewriting the rules as they go, as they see fit. All right, to get the scum, to get the swamp drained, and to employ all powers granted to the President by IEEPA to carry out the purpose of this order. The Secretary of the Treasury may, consistent with applicable law, redelegate any of these functions within the Department of the Treasury. All agencies shall take all appropriate measures within their authority to carry out the provisions of this order. Rules and regulations issued pursuant to this order may, among other things, establish procedures to license transactions otherwise prohibited pursuant to this order. But prior to issuing any license under this order, the Secretary of the Treasury shall consult with the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and the Director of National Intelligence. So people can't be making unilateral decisions and orders. All right? They got to consult with the other people a part of the team, which also helps stop corruption when you're trying to stop corruption. So let's move on to Section 4. Definitions. For the purpose of this order, A, the term Communist Chinese Military Company means 1. Any person that the Secretary of Defense has listed as a Communist Chinese military company operating directly or indirectly in the United States or in any of its territories or possessions pursuant to Section 1237 of Public Law 105 through 261, as amended by Section 1233 of Public Law 106-398 and Section 1222 of Public Law 108-375, as of the date of this order, and set forth in the annex of this order, until such time as the Secretary of Defense removes such person from such list. Now let's just take a look over here, and we'll take a look at the let me see here, at that list here. I think I had it somewhere. Let's take a look here. Now that's something. There we are. Here we are. So here's the list right here. So as you can see on the list so far, what they have says, you can see qualifying entities prepared in response to Section 1237 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 1999, Public Law 105-261. So far they got the Aviation Industry Corporation of China, the China Aerospace Science. So these are all the different names that's on the list. Cleared open publication June 12, 2020, Department of Defense, Office of Republication and Security Review. Now remember, they stopped Huawei or whatever however you call it. But look, if you can see, that's one of the names or one of the Chinese countries that companies that's on the list that's being a part of this executive order. You got CRRC Corporation, Panda Electronic Group, you know, all of these different names. And so, excuse me guys if I'm messing up some of the words and some of the names. It's pretty late, as you can see. I do have to go to work in the morning. So let's continue on. And you guys can check this out here, you know, unclassified for official use only. Deputy Secretary of Defense. So, you know, you can see this here, you know, and so they've been put this stuff into effect. I mean, if you go back to the Directive 51 that was put into effect, which we're going to talk about that in just a minute here. You know, it's all. Let's just check it out. So, continuing on, let's read this executive order. Now, any person that the Secretary of Defense, okay, so that was the list here. We went over that, so let's get back to it. Any person that the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Treasury. Now, let's take a look. The Secretary of Treasury. I'm sorry, guys, this right here. This is the Secretary of Treasury. Right here, we have Mr. Stephen Turner Mnuchin. All right, so let's go back over here. Now, any person that the Secretary of Defense, oh yeah, let's talk about the Secretary of Defense. This is our new Secretary of Defense. Now, this guy here just got put into office. This is Mr. Christopher C. Miller. He is acting Secretary of Defense, appointed when? November 9th, 2020. Okay. He just got put into office. All right. Now, this guy here specialized, he's a special operations and combat terrorism. Now, he specializes in terrorism, and he specializes especially in counterterrorism. Now, why would somebody who specializes in counterterrorism get put into acting roles of Secretary of Defense after an executive order like this one has got put into place? Okay, and then we can know all the different things that's on the list. Now, let's go back. So any person that the Secretary of Defense, which is this gentleman here, okay, let's go over here and we'll get that pulled up. I think we don't really need that name there. I guess it kind of jumped the gun a little bit, guys. So let's get back to the reading. Any person that the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Treasury, and we took a look, I think that, yeah, that's the Secretary of Treasury right there. And so we got the Secretary of Defense. Okay, so let's go back here. Any person that the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Treasury, determines is a communist Chinese military company, which we saw over here. Okay, let me see here. That's Michael Pompeo. Oh, that's the list right here. And we saw, okay, so we saw the list over here. So we got the Chinese companies. All right. So we got a good picture, a good idea of what they saying here in this executive order. Any person that the Secretary of Defense, in consultation with the Secretary of Treasury, determines is a communist Chinese military company operating directly or indirectly in the United States or in any of its territories, possessions, and therefore lists as such pursuant to Section 1237 of Public Law 105-261, as amended by Section 1233 of Public Law 106-398 and Section 1222 of Public Law 108-375 until such times as the Secretary of Defense removes such person from the list. So once you go on that list, you there until the Secretary of Defense, who just got placed in charge of his position, removes you from such list. Now, of course, this stuff has been going on. This has been planned. You know, like I said in previous videos, trust the plan. Now, let's continue. Any person that the Secretary of Treasury publicly lists as meeting the criteria in Section 1237B4B of Public Law 105-261 or publicly lists as a subsidiary of a person already determined to be a communist Chinese military company until the Secretary of the Treasury determines that such person no longer meets the criteria and removes such person from such list. Now, the term entity means a government or instrumentality of such government, partnership, association, trust, joint venture, corporation, group, subgroup, or other organization. The term person means an individual or entity. The term security or securities include the definition of security in Section 3A.10 of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, Public Laws 73-291, as codified as amended at 15 U.S.C. 78C A10, except that currency or any note, draft bill or exchange or banker's acceptance which has a maturity at the time of issuance of not exceeding 9 months, exclusive of days of grace or any renewal thereof, the maturity of which is likewise limited, shall be a security for purpose of this order. The term transaction means the purchase for value of any publicly traded security, and the term United States person means any United States citizen, permanent resident, alien, entity organized under the law of the United States, or any jurisdiction within the United States, including foreign branches, or any person in the United States. Section 5. The Secretary of the Treasury, in consultation with the Secretary of State and, as appropriate, the Secretary of State is our guy over here, Mike Pompeo. Mike Pompeo was sworn in as the Secretary of State on April 26, 2018. All right, so we got the Secretary of State, we got the Secretary of the Treasury, and we got the Acting Secretary of Defense. All right, so we know what's going on there. We got a pretty good image of what's really going on. Now, you guys can read a lot of the this information that's coming out here on whitehouse.gov, as I have, but we're just about finished with this order here, guys, as you can see here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. All right. Now, we were just talking about the term United States person. So in Section 5, it says the Secretary of Treasury, in consultation with the Secretary of State and, as appropriate, the Secretary of Defense, is hereby authorized to submit the recurring and final reports to the Congress of the national emergency declared in this order, consistent with Section 401C of the NEA 50 U.S.C. 1641C and Section 204C of the IEEPA 50 U.S.C. 1703C. Section 6, General Provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect 1. The authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or the functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, and legislative proposals. This order shall not be implemented, this order shall be implemented consistent with the applicable law and subject to the availability of apparations. Wow, they can just change stuff as they move. This order is not intended to and does not, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantial or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. Donald J. Trump, the White House, November 12, 2020. Now, let's go over here and talk about this for a second. Now, there is a thing called the Directive 51. All right, Presidential Directive 51. Now, basically, you guys can read up on this here. I'm going to get ready in the video very soon. But the Directive 51 basically says when the stuff hits the fan, the executive branch can be the dictating party to all three governments. Now, if you feel like you have corruption in all the governments, and it's all a big, huge web, and it's all tied in together, then you're going to need one single voice that's going to be able to activate. And so Bush Jr., back in an earlier state, I think it was 2007, he enacted the law. Early June of 2007, he enacted the law of the Directive 51, where basically the executive branch can just take over and they can implement basically whatever rule they want to implement to get the job done. So we got some very exciting times coming up, and I want to thank you guys for checking out another Real Talk session where we were going over one of the most important executive orders outside of a lot of different executive orders that have been put into place. Also, Trump did a pretty important executive order back in 2018 that basically told us what was going on. I was just looking at a speech the other day where he was talking about ending things finally. I mean, the public had to see all this corruption. You can't just tell the public that you got all this corruption going on. They have to see all the corruption for themselves. And basically right now it's just the dominoes are going to fall, and the whole reality show, the whole stage has just been set up and it's just ready to go. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in for another Real Talk session. I got to end right here, man. I got to go to work in the morning, another 10 hours, man. No big YouTube star yet. I still work for 10 hours and help people and do my financial superheroing, and that's how I pay my bills. So that's why I'm able to put these videos out, man. I really don't care if YouTube demonetizes me, because I don't make no money, no way. So please like, subscribe, share, put it on your Facebook, put it on your social media, help me get out there. Let's level up together, and we're going to keep on pushing this truth. One love, y'all. Thank you for tuning in.